Commander Lee Minho walked slowly across the metal floor of Luna Station. His boots made soft clicking sounds in the quiet hallway. Through the large windows, he could see Earth spinning below like a blue and white marble. The sight never got old, even after 15 years of service. "Sir, you need to see this," called Lieutenant Park Gina from the communications room. Her voice had that edge that meant trouble was coming. Minho pushed through the sliding doors and found Gina staring at her screens with worry written across her face. Numbers and symbols flowed down the displays like digital rain. Most people would see chaos, but Minho had learned to read the patterns years ago. "What am I looking at?" he asked, leaning over her shoulder. "Fleet movements, sir. Big ones. The Vorthak have been moving ships toward the outer rim for 3 weeks now. At first I thought it was normal patrol rotation, but look at these numbers." She pointed to a cluster of red dots on the star map. "That's not a patrol. That's a war fleet." Minho felt his stomach drop. For 300 years, Earth had lived under the protection of the Terran Accords. It was a simple deal that had kept humanity safe. Earth would stay in their home system, and not expand beyond Mars and the asteroid belt. In return, all the major alien powers promised to leave humanity alone. It was called a sanctuary agreement, and every species had signed it in their own blood or equivalent. "Are you sure about these readings?" Minho asked, though he already knew Gina was never wrong about sensor data. "I've checked them 6 times, sir, cross-referenced with our deep space monitoring stations. The Vorthak Collective has assembled the largest fleet anyone has seen in 2 centuries. They're calling it a security exercise, but security exercises don't need that many battleships." The doors opened again, and Captain Kim Do-hyun entered with quick, nervous steps. His uniform was wrinkled like he had been sleeping at his desk again. "Commander, we just got word from Intelligence Division. They're confirming massive shipyard activity in Vorthak space. Something big is happening." Minho turned back to the star map. The Vorthak Collective controlled 47 star systems, and had always been one of the more aggressive species in the galaxy. They looked like giant insects with too many arms and eyes that never seemed to blink. But they had signed the Accords just like everyone else. They had promised to protect Earth sanctuary status. "Sir," Gina said quietly, "there's something else. I've been monitoring their communications, and they keep using a phrase I don't understand. They're calling humanity the sleeping threat in their military broadcasts." "Sleeping threat?" Do-hyun repeated. "What's that supposed to mean? We've kept to our agreements. We haven't expanded beyond the solar system. We've been model citizens of the galaxy." Minho knew what it meant, though he didn't want to say it out loud. Earth had been busy during their 3 centuries of peace. While other species fought wars and expanded their territories, humanity had been building, learning, and growing stronger. Not in military terms officially, but in every other way that mattered. Human technology had advanced faster than anyone expected. Human population had grown. Human industry had become incredibly efficient. Maybe some species were starting to worry about what would happen if humanity ever decided to leave their home system. "Get me President Han on the secure line," Minho ordered. "She needs to know about this immediately." While Gina worked to establish the connection, Minho stared out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, alien ships were gathering for reasons he didn't want to think about. The Accords had been signed by representatives from 14 different species. They had called it sacred, unbreakable, eternal. The ceremony had been broadcast across the galaxy as a symbol of lasting peace. But Minho had been a soldier long enough to know that promises were only as strong as the people who made them. And if the Vorthak were building a war fleet, they might not care about promises anymore. "Sir, I have the President," Gina announced. "Madam President," Minho said into the communication device, "we have a situation developing. The Vorthak are massing ships near our outer territories. It looks like they're preparing for military action." There was silence from Earth for several long seconds. When President Han Mira finally spoke, her voice was calm but cold. "How certain are we about this intelligence?" "Very certain, ma'am. Multiple sources confirm it. They have enough firepower assembled to level a planet. And our other allies? What are they saying about this Vorthak buildup?" That was the question Minho had been dreading. "That's the problem, ma'am," They're not saying anything at all. The silence stretched longer this time. Finally, the president spoke again. Commander, I want you to quietly activate our early warning systems. Don't make it obvious. But I want to know the moment any ship enters our solar system. And, Commander? Yes, ma'am. Start waking up our sleeping projects. All of them. The communication ended, leaving the three officers alone with their fears. Outside the windows, Earth continued its peaceful rotation, unaware that the sacred promises that protected it might be about to break. Admiral Choi Hee-jin was drinking her morning coffee when the alarm started screaming. The hot liquid spilled across her desk as she jumped to her feet, but she didn't notice. Every screen in Mars Command was flashing red, and the sound of running boots echoed through the corridors. Admiral, we have incoming ships, shouted Lieutenant Yoon from the sensor station. Multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace near Titan. Hee-jin ran to the main display, still holding her coffee cup. What she saw there made her blood freeze. Dozens of alien ships were appearing out of nowhere, their weapons already glowing with deadly energy. She recognized the sharp, angular design of Vorthak battleships immediately. Sound general alert across all colonies, she ordered. Get me direct communication with Earth Defense Command now. The first explosions lit up the display like fireworks. Titan Base, where 3,000 humans lived and worked, disappeared in a ball of white fire. The mining station at Europa followed, seconds later. Then the defense platforms around Jupiter began exploding one by one. They're not giving us any warning, reported Colonel Yoon Sung-ho from his patrol ship near the asteroid belt. His voice crackled with static and fear. They're just shooting everything that moves. These aren't warning shots, Admiral. They're trying to kill us all. Hee-jin grabbed the emergency communicator. All stations, this is Admiral Choi. We are under attack. The accords have been broken. Repeat, the Terran accords have been violated. We are at war. More explosions filled the screens. The Vorthak ships moved through space like angry hornets, destroying everything humans had built in the outer system. Supply depots, research stations, cargo haulers, even civilian transports were being targeted, without mercy. Admiral, called Communications Officer Park Min-jae, we're receiving a broadcast from the Vorthak Fleet Commander. Put it through, Hee-jin said, though she already knew she wouldn't like what she heard. The alien voice that filled the command center was cold and mechanical, speaking through translation devices. Humans of Earth, you have violated the sacred Terran Accords through excessive technological advancement and aggressive expansion beyond agreed parameters. Your species has become a threat to galactic stability. We are authorized to take corrective action. Corrective action? Hee-jin shouted at the screen. You're murdering innocent people. But the broadcast continued without acknowledging her words. Your military installations and industrial facilities will be destroyed. Your expansion into space will be permanently ended. This is for the protection of all galactic civilizations. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in shocked silence. Get me the Andromedan Embassy, Hee-jin ordered, and the Centauri Republic. Someone has to help us. The Accords guarantee our protection. While her communications team worked frantically, Hee-jin watched more human settlements die on her screens. The attack was not random or chaotic. The Vorthak were following a careful plan, hitting the most important targets first. They knew exactly where everything was located. Admiral, Min-jae said quietly, the Andromedan Embassy is not responding to our emergency calls. Neither is the Centauri Republic. In fact, none of our allied governments are answering. Hee-jin felt like someone had punched her in the stomach. What do you mean they're not answering? I mean their communication systems are active, but they're refusing to take our calls. It's like they're pretending we don't exist. On the main screen, another mining facility exploded. Hundreds of human workers were aboard that station. Hee-jin had visited it just last month and shared dinner with the crew. Now they were all dead, and the species that had promised to protect humanity were ignoring their calls for help. Keep trying, she ordered, but her voice had lost its strength. Captain Kim Sora's voice came through the communicator from her position, near Mars. Admiral, I'm seeing something strange. There are ships from other species watching the battle. They're just sitting there, not helping us, but not helping the Vorthak either. They're just watching. How many species? Hyejin asked. At least 6 different types of ships that I can identify. They're maintaining distance, but they're definitely observing the attack. The truth hit Hyejin like a physical blow. This wasn't just the Vorthak acting alone. Other species knew about the attack and had chosen to do nothing. Maybe they had even agreed to it. The sacred promises that had protected Earth for 3 centuries were worthless. "Ma'am," reported Lieutenant Yoon, "we're getting emergency transmissions from Earth. President Han wants to speak with you immediately." "Put her through." President Han Mira's voice was steady, but Hyejin could hear the controlled anger beneath it. "Admiral, what's our situation?" "Bad, Madam President. We've lost most of our outer system installations. The Vorthak claim we violated. The Accords and our supposed allies are refusing to help us." "I see. And our defensive capabilities?" "We're fighting with what we have, but we're badly outnumbered. The patrol ships can't match their battleships." There was a pause. When the President spoke again, her tone had changed completely. "Admiral, I'm authorizing Emergency Protocol 7. Wake up everything we've kept sleeping. It's time to show the galaxy who they're really dealing with." Hyejin felt a chill run down her spine. Emergency Protocol 7 was something she had hoped never to hear. "Ma'am, are you certain?" "Admiral, they broke faith with us. Now they get to see what happens when you betray humanity." The communication ended just as another human station exploded on the main screen. Dr. Kwon Jisoo stood in front of a door that hadn't been opened in 20 years. Her hand shook slightly as she pressed it against the scanner. The machine beeped, twice. Then the massive steel door began to slide open with a deep rumbling sound. Behind the door lay the most secret place on Earth. The laboratory was built 3 miles under the Pacific Ocean, so deep that even the most powerful alien sensors couldn't detect it. Only 12 people in the world knew it existed, and half of them were already dead. "Computer, activate all systems," Jisoo said into the darkness. Lights began flickering on row by row, revealing a space the size of an airplane hangar. Machines that looked like they belonged in science fiction movies hummed to life. Screens showed star maps, weapon designs, and ship blueprints that would have shocked the galaxy's other species. "Welcome back, Dr. Kwon," said the computer in a pleasant female voice. "It has been 7,412 days since last activation. Shall I begin Project Deepwell?" "Yes," Jisoo said simply. "Wake everything up." Far away in the cold darkness beyond Pluto, something else was waking up. Captain Bae Woojin had been drifting in his stealth ship for 3 days, watching Vorthak fleet movements. His ship was so well hidden that it didn't even show up on its own sensors. "This is worse than we thought," he whispered into his communicator. Through his telescope, he could see the alien fleet spread across space like a deadly constellation. There were hundreds of ships, maybe thousands. But it wasn't just the number that scared him. It was what they were carrying. "Command, I'm seeing planet-killer weapons on their main battleships. These aren't invasion tools. They're designed to destroy entire worlds." General Song Moran's voice crackled back through the encrypted channel. "Are you certain, Captain?" "Ma'am, I've been studying alien weapon systems for 15 years. Those are mass extinction devices. They're not planning to occupy our colonies. They want to turn Earth into a dead rock floating in space." The communication went quiet for several seconds. When the general spoke again, her voice was harder than steel. "Captain, I'm sending you new coordinates. There are things you need to see." The coordinates led Woojin to a region of space that looked completely empty. But as his ship got closer, things began to appear. First, a small asteroid that wasn't moving like an asteroid should. Then another. Then a whole field of fake rocks that were actually something else entirely. "What in the world?" Woojin breathed. His ship's computer began identifying the objects. They weren't asteroids at all. They were ships. Human ships. Dozens of them, hidden in the Kuiper Belt and disguised to look like space debris. "Captain Bae," came a new voice over his communicator. "This is Admiral Lee Jinhae. Welcome to Shipyard Omega." "Shipyard Omega?" Woojin repeated. "Sir, I've never heard of any Shipyard Omega." "That was the point, Captain. We've been building these ships for 60 years, ever since we signed the Accords. We hoped we'd never need them, but we knew this day might come. One of the fake asteroids began to move, revealing itself as a warship unlike anything Wu Jin had ever seen. It was sleek and deadly, covered in weapons that didn't match any known technology. As he watched, more ships began powering up their engines. "Sir, what kind of weapons are those?" Wu Jin asked. "The kind that work differently than anything the galaxy has seen before. While other species were fighting each other, we were learning. We studied their weaknesses. We found better ways to do everything." Back on Earth, President Han Mira walked into a room full of people who looked very worried. Military commanders, scientists, and government officials sat around a long table covered with documents marked with red stamps. "Ladies and gentlemen," the president said, "the sacred promises that protected our world have been broken. The Vorthak are trying to destroy us, and our supposed allies are doing nothing to help. It's time to show them all who they're really dealing with." She pressed a button on the table, and the room's main screen lit up with images of alien ships attacking human colonies. "For 300 years, we've been the galaxy's pet humans. We stayed in our little corner of space and played nice. But we were never as weak as we pretended to be." Defense Minister Park Kyung-min stood up. "Madam President, are you authorizing full activation of all sleeping projects?" "All of them," the president replied. "Project Deep Well, the hidden shipyards, the quantum research stations, everything. Let's remind the galaxy why humans used to be feared." Dr. Jisoo watched her screens as secret facilities across the solar system came online. Hidden bases on the dark side of the moon began producing weapons. Asteroid mining stations revealed themselves to be disguised weapons factories. Even some of the space stations that looked like peaceful research facilities started showing their true purpose. "Ma'am," said her assistant, Dr. Nam Ji-hoon, "we're receiving coded messages from unexpected sources. Some of the smaller alien species are offering to help us." "Which ones?" Jisoo asked. "The Kepler refugees, the Vega traders, the Rimworld colonies. They're all species that have been bullied by the Vorthak before. They're saying they'll provide intelligence and supplies if we're really planning to fight back." Jisoo smiled for the first time in days. "Send them confirmation codes. Tell them humanity remembers its friends." Above them, hidden in the space around Earth, weapons that had been sleeping for decades began to wake up. Commander Oh Siwon gripped the control panel as his ship dropped out of hyperspace. Around him, 50 other human vessels appeared like ghosts, materializing from nothing. The Vorthak had taken the mining stations near Jupiter, but they were about to learn that humans didn't give up their homes easily. "All ships, this is Commander O. Target their command vessels first. Show them what happens when you break promises to humanity." His ship moved forward with impossible speed. The Vorthak ships tried to turn to face the new threat, but human vessels were already behind them, beside them, everywhere at once. The alien commanders had never seen ships move like this before. "Sir, their weapons can't track us," reported Lieutenant Kim Young-ho from the weapons station. "We're too fast for their targeting systems." Oh Siwon watched as human plasma cannons tore through Vorthak armor like paper. The aliens had built their ships to fight other alien technology. They had never prepared for weapons that worked on completely different principles. "First mining station secured, sir. The Vorthak survivors are requesting permission to surrender." "Granted. Take prisoners, but keep moving. We have 12 more stations to liberate before sunset." Across the solar system, similar battles were happening everywhere. Human ships appeared from nowhere, struck with deadly precision, and vanished before the enemy could respond. It was like fighting shadows that could kill. General Lim Yuna stood in the new command center that had been built beneath Seoul. The room was filled with screens showing battles across known space. Each screen told the same story. Human forces were winning, and winning easily. "Ma'am, we're receiving surrender requests from Vorthak forces at Europa Ganymede and the asteroid belt," reported Colonel Lee Hyunwoo. "Their commanders are saying they weren't prepared for this level of resistance." "Of course they weren't," Yuna replied coldly. "They thought we were helpless farmers who had never learned to fight. They're discovering that peaceful and weak are not the same thing." On another screen, she watched Captain Park Sun-mi leading a strike against a Vorthak supply convoy. The human ships moved in perfect coordination, like they were controlled by a single mind. In reality, they were connected by quantum communication systems that allowed instant coordination across any distance. "General, we're getting interesting. Reports from our intelligence network," said Major Choi Deho. "Other alien species are quietly withdrawing their support from the Vorthak. Some are even reaching out to us through secret channels." "Which species?" Yuna asked. "The Centauri Republic sent a coded message saying they want to discuss new trade agreements. The Andromedan Empire is claiming they never supported the Vorthak attack. 3 other species are requesting emergency diplomatic meetings." Yuna smiled grimly. "Funny how quickly they change their minds when they see we can defend ourselves." In space near Mars, Admiral An Taehyung commanded the largest human fleet ever assembled. 200 ships that had been hidden for decades now moved through space like a pack of hunting wolves. Their target was the main Vorthak battle group that had started this war. "Admiral, enemy fleet is trying to retreat toward their home system," reported Captain Seo Minjong from the lead scout ship. "They're abandoning their forward positions." "Let them run," Taehyung replied. "But make sure they understand they're not escaping. They're being herded." The Vorthak had expected to fight primitive human technology. Instead, they found themselves facing weapons that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Human ships moved faster than light should allow. Human weapons hit targets from impossible distances. Human tactics anticipated every move the aliens made. "Sir, we're receiving a broadcast from the Vorthak fleet commander," announced Communications Officer Han Jamin. "Put it through." The alien voice that filled the command center sounded very different from the confident tone they had used when attacking human colonies. Now it was high-pitched with fear. "Human fleet, this is Commander Zrakthul of the Vorthak Collective. We request immediate ceasefire negotiations. We may have acted hastily in our assessment of the situation." Taehyung's laugh was not pleasant. "Commander Zrakthul, you murdered 3,000 humans at Titan Base. You destroyed civilian mining stations. You tried to commit genocide against my species. And now you want to negotiate? We were protecting galactic stability from what we perceived as a growing threat. The only threat here is to species that break their sacred promises." Taehyung interrupted. "You will surrender unconditionally, or we will continue this demonstration of human military capabilities." There was a long pause before the alien replied. We did not know humans possess such advanced military technology." "Of course you didn't. We spent 3 centuries letting you think we were weak and helpless. We could have conquered half the galaxy during that time, but we chose to honor our agreements and live in peace. You mistook our choice for inability." Back on Earth, President Han Mira addressed the world from the Global Defense Command Center. Behind her, screens showed human forces winning battles across the solar system. "My fellow humans," she began, "for 300 years we lived under the protection of promises made by alien civilizations. Today, those promises were broken. But we have shown the galaxy something important. We have shown them that humanity protects itself." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "To the species that honored their commitments to us, you will find us grateful allies. To those who betrayed our trust, you will find us dangerous enemies. And to anyone who thinks humanity is weak because we choose peace over conquest, you now know better." The war was far from over, but the galaxy was learning a new truth. Humans were not the helpless species they had pretended to be. Admiral An Taehyung stood on the bridge of humanity's flagship as it entered the Vorthak home system. Around him, the largest human war fleet ever assembled moved through space like silent death. Every ship carried weapons that the galaxy had never seen before, technologies that made alien defenses look like children's toys. "Sir, we're detecting their final defensive line," reported Captain Yoon Minji from her sensor station. 47 battleships and a planetary defense grid that could destroy a moon. Taehyung studied the tactical display with calm eyes. The Vorthak had retreated to their homeworld for their last stand. Their most powerful weapons, their best ships, their strongest fortifications. Everything they had left was here, protecting the planet where their species was born. All ships prepare for final assault. Today we end this war and show the galaxy what happens when you break faith with humanity. The battle began with light itself seeming to bend. Human ships moved in ways that violated every known law of physics. They appeared behind enemy vessels, before disappearing again, leaving destruction in their wake. The Vorthak defense grid fired desperately at targets that were no longer there. "Their weapons can't touch us," observed Commander Lee Subin from the Tactical Center. "We're fighting in 4 dimensions while they're still thinking in 3. Within an hour, the mighty Vorthak fleet was reduced to floating wreckage. Their planetary shields collapsed under weapons that struck from directions that shouldn't exist. When the last alien battleship exploded, the homeworld lay defenseless before human power. This is Admiral An Tae-hyung of the Human Defense Force. He broadcast to the planet below. Your military resistance has ended. You will surrender immediately, or we will demonstrate why peaceful species should never be threatened." The response came quickly, filled with desperation. "Admiral, this is Supreme Leader Vasktar of the Vorthak Collective. We surrender unconditionally. Please, we have millions of civilians on this world." "Your civilians will not be harmed," Tae-hyung replied coldly. "Unlike your forces, we do not murder innocents, but your government will face justice for breaking the sacred accords." As the Vorthak leadership surrendered, something that shocked them more than their military defeat became clear. Earth had possessed this overwhelming military power from the very beginning. Humanity could have conquered the galaxy centuries ago, but had chosen peace instead. You could have destroyed us at any time," whispered Vasktar during the surrender ceremony. "Why did you pretend to be weak?" "We weren't pretending to be weak," replied Tae-hyung. "We were choosing to be peaceful. There's a difference that your species never understood." 3 months later, Ambassador Seo Da-hyun walked into the Galactic Council chambers for the first time. But she wasn't walking in as a protected species begging for safety. She was walking in as the representative of a power that had just reminded the galaxy why humans were once feared across the stars. The great circular chamber fell silent as she approached the central podium. Representatives from dozens of species watched her with mixtures of fear, respect, and desperate hope. The old order was ending, and nobody knew what would replace it. "Honored representatives," Da-hyun began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast space. "I stand before you today not as a supplicant seeking protection, but as the voice of humanity's new place in galactic affairs." She gestured to the screens around the chamber, which showed images of the recent war. Human ships destroying alien fleets, human weapons that defied known science, human forces that had ended a 3-month war in their favor. The Terran Accords that protected Earth for 3 centuries are hereby dissolved. Humanity rejects the role of protected sanctuary and claims its rightful place as an equal among the galaxy's civilizations. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Some species looked relieved, others appeared terrified. To those civilizations that honored their commitments to humanity during our time of need, you will find us the most loyal of allies, Da-hyun continued. To those who betrayed sacred oaths for political convenience, you will find us distant but fair. And to any who might consider threatening human worlds in the future. She paused, letting the silence stretch until every being in the chamber was hanging on her next words. You have seen what we can do when forced to defend ourselves. We prefer peace, but we are very, very good at war. The Andromedan representative, a tall blue being with too many eyes, raised a tentacle. Ambassador Seo, what assurances can you give that humanity will not use its military superiority to conquer other species? Da-hyun's smile was neither warm nor cold. The same assurance we gave 300 years ago when we first chose isolation, over-expansion. Our word. The difference is that now you know the true value of promises made by humans. She activated a holographic display showing new territorial boundaries. Earth claims no additional systems beyond our original solar system. We seek no tribute, no vassals, no empire. We want only what we have always wanted, to be left alone to live in peace. And if someone threatens that peace again? Asked the Centauri delegate nervously. Then they will discover that humanity's memory is very long, and our capacity for decisive action is now proven beyond doubt. As Da-hyun left the council chambers, She knew the galaxy would never be the same. The age of humanity hiding in the shadows was over. They had taken their place among the stars not as conquerors, but as a people whose strength was matched only by their reliability. The sacred pact was broken, but something stronger had taken its place. Respect earned through demonstrated power, and the knowledge that humans kept their promises both for peace and for war.